Hello everyone, in this video I will be showing you what I've been doing in the past 4 weeks to build a custom and personal PC. So let's get into it right away. Although I was excited to get parts and build, I needed to know the fundamentals. There are 9 essential parts. First, the motherboard. This device holds and connects all the other parts together and allow them to function properly. They come in different sizes, and from large to small, they are eATX, ATX, Micro ATX, and Mini ITX. Next is the CPU. This is often referred to as the processor or the brain of the computer because it allows the PC to run programs or run softwares, and basically do anything at all. The CPU does this by analyzing and executing information from the RAM and storage. But what is RAM and storage? They are both a type of storage. RAM is a temporary storage space that holds information the PC is actively using for quick access. For example, opening a tab in your browser. It's kind of like short-term memory. And if we describe RAM to be short-term memory, then storage is long-term memory. It is slower to access, but it has a lot of storage space. It stores things like documents, pictures, videos, game saves, and more. There are 2 types. One, the HDD, which can easily hold heavy data such as archived photos and documents and playback videos or music files. However, they are slow and delicate because they apply and read data on a physically spinning disk. 2. The SSD is a newer type of hard drive that is smaller, more durable, faster, and requires less energy than the HDD. It also doesn't have any disk, so this allows it to deal with data quickly since it can be stored anywhere. For instance, a computer with an SSD will boot up faster than a computer without one. The only downside is that it has less storage space than an HDD. That is why it is recommended to have both. The GPU interprets all code and information that is given from the CPU to display onto the monitor and dictates how well the images/videos appear. These are very important to gamers and video editors who highly prioritize graphics. The PSU supplies power to everything. Without it, nothing will be able to run. There are different wattages and efficiencies. Wattage is the amount of power supplied, and if a PC doesn't have the right amount of wattage compatible to the whole system, then it won't turn on and work. Efficiency is how well the CPU supplies power. The higher the efficiency, the lower electricity bill and less heating. From low to high, there are levels such as bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and titanium. The CPU cooler is to remove heat buildup from the CPU and regulate temperature in the PC. If a computer gets too hot, then parts can be damaged. There are 2 types, air cooler, which is essentially a fan that absorbs heat and disperses it, and a liquid cooler, which uses water and a radiator. The heat from the CPU will emit to the water, and the water will travel to the radiator, cool down, and go back to cool down the CPU. This will go in a cycle. And finally, the case. This is the exterior of the PC and contains all the components inside. They also come in different sizes, which align with the motherboard sizes. This is to compare compatibility with the motherboard. Now, let's get to selecting parts. I cruised through websites such as Canada Computers and Electronics, Newegg, Best Buy, Amazon, and Memory Express to see which parts are in stock and their prices. I also used websites recommended to me by my mentor like PC Part Picker, User Benchmark, and Logical Increments to help me compare and view compatibility between parts. And after careful deliberations with my mentor, many changes, and deciding where to buy each item, this was my final list of selected parts. I chose these parts with the intention to create music/video edit, run video games, and for future schoolwork. I think this was one of the hardest parts of the project because there was no room for error. Once I purchased an item, there is no turning back. Therefore, I needed to carefully determine which parts were the best for me in terms of performance, price, and compatibility between parts. As you can see, the amount spent here is kind of crazy. I originally set a maximum budget of $1,200, but if I wanted a solid PC, I was going to have to deal with the inflation of prices. I will touch more on this later. And so I immediately ordered the parts required from online because I knew it would take time to arrive. And that's the end of week 1. On to week 2. In week 2, I waited for online orders to arrive and traveled to Canada Computers and Electronics to purchase parts. Over the week, I received the SSD, HDD, and CPU cooler from Amazon and the PSU from Newegg. Then I traveled to Canada Computers to purchase the CPU, motherboard, RAM, and case. There, an employee also assisted me to choose better products by advising me to more fitting parts that I wasn't aware from the online market. I once again readjusted my list in highlights. Now, the last thing was the GPU. However, a huge problem I ran into was the immediate shortage of GPUs because of COVID-19. The pandemic put a halt to manufacturing, but a large demand for GPUs. This caused a short stock of graphics cards and price inflations to anywhere around $1,000. That is why finding a GPU at a reasonable price was extremely difficult, and why I had to go through unofficial websites such as Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist to find lower prices. This also made me realize my budget was going to have to increase and hurt my soul again. After intensely searching through websites, I managed to find a brand new GPU for $650 on Craigslist and met up with the seller for an exchange. Here is the very final list of all the selected parts. And unexpectedly, I gained a second mentor. During a family outing, I spoke about my capstone project with my uncle. He became excited and wanted to assist me. I agreed since he is also a computer repair technician and has the workstation for it, so we plan to meet up in week 3 and build it together.
Don't you tell me that it wasn't meant to be.
So here's my uncle and I building the computer. Overall, it went smoothly and I appreciate his help. My original mentor was busy with his schoolwork, so I am grateful for my uncle stepping in with the building process. My uncle spoke only Vietnamese and broken English, so there was a slight language barrier. However, because building the PC was a very hands-on project, I understood his demonstrations and explanations. One problem I unexpectedly encountered was putting my hands in tight and awkward spots to plug in cables, but I managed my way around and attached them all. So other than these small issues, I really had no major problems, and after 4 hours of building and testing, my uncle and I finally finished my first PC build. And here's the final product. I'm very happy with how it turned out. At this time, my uncle had a copy of Windows 10 that he would install. I brought my finished PC home and allowed my younger brother to check it out. Overall, I am very happy about the finished build. The computer exceeded my expectations in terms of noise level and speed. In the future, I aim to look into overclocking and upgrading parts, but for now, thank you for watching.
But won't you do something?